Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with a quick update. Well, it might not be that quick actually. An update for you for Bitcoin technicals only and Elliott Wave and technicals for XRP. I break my YouTube videos into chapters, so if you're only wanting part of this, just skip through to the appropriate chapter. I'm recording from Rome and I'm off to New Zealand in a few days. Got to go back home and see family, so there's a lot of noise in the background. Close to the airport, you might hear a bunch of planes going overhead. Bitcoin looks like it's tracing out potentially a little flag pattern. It's in its 16th day, so it's getting a little bit aged. The best flags and pennants, which are reliable continuation patterns, complete within 15 days. So now the probability that this is going to complete and have a reliable outcome is now reducing. They're continuation patterns, so the angle of entry was down here. We would expect a downward breakout from the flag when it's done. I judge the flagpole to be from this high to this low, so I take that distance and I deduct it from where I estimate the breakout point to be, about 84,817.98. Gives us a target from the flag about 68,590. Before you can use that target though, you absolutely must wait for a breakout from the flag pattern by a close below the lower edge of this pattern. And if it has support from volume pushing price lower, then you can have more confidence in it. And there's another plane. They just don't stop. One little thing that's giving me a little bit of cause for concern that we are going to see a downward breakout from the flag pattern though is the breach of this channel that contains this pullback. From the high back on 20th of January, Bitcoin's been in a downward trend, a series of lower lows and a series of lower highs. And that trend has been fitting within a channel, but now we've got movement outside the channel, suggesting we may have a low in place, we may have a trend change, but there's not a lot of strength in upward movement. But that does put a little bit of an indication that we could potentially have a low in place with this bullish engulfing candlestick pattern of March the 11th. However, the series of lower lows and the series of lower highs needs to be broken before we can really have any reasonable confidence that the 11th of March is a low in place and that Bitcoin's on its way up to new all-time highs. So we need to see a new high above 95,106.04. Doesn't have to be a close above that point. Just a new high by any amount at any time frame above that point would break the pattern of lower lows and lower highs, and that would indicate we've potentially had a trend change at the last low. Currently, price is finding resistance support about 87,500 and support about 80,000. If it can close above resistance 87,500, look for next resistance about 92,000. There's a lot of resistance above in a zone from 100,000 to about 106,000, the previous all-time high for Bitcoin. It's got a bit of work to do before it can break above there. As price is moving higher in this possible flag pattern, volume is declining. That does tend to be a common feature of flag and pennant patterns. There's a nice tight range for on-balance volume. Resistance has a few tests, support has about 3 tests. So draw your resistance and support lines really carefully for on-balance volume. We may have a breakout of this little range before price breaks out of the flag pattern. Sometimes on-balance volume will give us a leading signal. Very few technical indicators will do this. This is one reason why I really like using on-balance volume. If we get a break above the yellow resistance line by on-balance volume, then we may have an upward breakout coming imminently from Bitcoin from that little flag pattern. We'll just be calling it not a flag pattern then, just a consolidation zone. If we get a break below the support line from on-balance volume, then we may have a downward breakout from the flag imminently. On-balance volume may break out before the flag, before price, or it could be a breakout along with price. When it happens before its leading indicator, when it happens with price breaking out, it gives you confidence in the price breakout. ADX is declining, the DX lines are starting to whipsaw. This is typical of ADX when price is consolidating. At the last low, there was some bullish divergence between price and RSI after RSI reached oversold. Along with that strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern, this offers a little bit of support to the view that 11th of March could have been a low in place for Bitcoin. There's also bullish divergence between price and money flow. Money flow got really close to oversold, but not quite there. But as price is moving higher, volume and range are both very weak. Now, Bitcoin can be quite weak up off its lows. Early stages of previous strong bull runs have started out with a lot of weakness, but this is particularly weak. So it gives me some concern that we are going to see new all-time highs. And if we do, it may be just a short-term high before we see another big downward swing for Bitcoin. I am concerned at weak volume and weak range at this stage. Now that could change if we start to see range increase with higher prices, and if we start to see volume start to support upward movement. Let's take a step back and look at the entire price history of XRP. I do have an alternate wave count for XRP. I can't find it on these charts here, but it's basically instead of 1, 2, 3, it's A, triangle for B, C. So just before I get into this wave count, there is an alternate. It still expects more upward movement, just not up to these long, very, very high targets. It does expect the same direction though, so at this point it doesn't really make too much difference. But just so you're aware, I do have A, triangle for B, C on the way up. 1, 2, 3 and ABC can subdivide the same way, except you can't have a triangle in a second wave position. So for this wave count, I've got 1, double zigzag for 2 and 3 underway with 1 and 2 complete, and 3 underway with 1 and 2 complete. So this wave count for XRP is extremely bullish. It's a third wave at intermediate, primary and cycle degree on its way up. This has a pretty good fit. This wave count has some targets for these third waves. I'm using the ratio 14.72. That's not a Fibonacci ratio. That's how long primary 3 was to primary 1 within cycle wave 1. If we see the same ratio exhibited here, then primary 3 here would reach 27.44 and cycle 3 would reach 48.94. I'm using the Fibonacci number sequence to estimate when these waves may end. Just note that previously XRP's waves don't always exhibit numbers on the Fibonacci number sequence. Cycle 1 lasted 42 months, too long to be a Fibonacci 34 and not long enough to be considered close to a Fibonacci 55. So XRP sometimes exhibits waves that are somewhat close to Fibonacci numbers, but not always. So these estimates are worth doing, but it doesn't mean these waves will end on those dates. It's just a date to be aware of. If around these dates, the structure of primary 3 looks close to completion, then we may see it end about September this year. And likewise, for cycle 3, if we get to March 2028 and it's lasted a Fibonacci 8 years and the structure is nearly complete, then it could end about that time. Here, primary wave 1 was just 1 short of a Fibonacci 13 months, and primary 2 was just 3 short of a Fibonacci 21. Intermediate 1 lasted a Fibonacci 8 and intermediate 2 1 short of a Fibonacci 13. So as well as these estimates, give or take a couple of months either side, maybe 3 months either side of these dates. I've drawn a base channel around primary 1 and 2 from the start of 1 to the end of 2, placed a parallel copy at the end of 1. The lower edge is not perfectly, but a roundabout showing us where intermediate wave 2 found support and our price is moving up and away. I will expect intermediate 3, primary 3 and cycle 3 to have the power to break through resistance at the upper edge of the base channel. And XRP can do that. It has these really, really strong, long drawn out vertical movements. So this only lasted a month, but it's done it before for months in a row, 3 months here. So when it moves in the middle of a third wave, it can move with a lot of strength, covering a huge distance over a relatively short period of time. Let's take a look at the weekly time frame. We're going to go from the high of intermediate 1 here, this point here. Intermediate 1 lasted exactly a Fibonacci 34 weeks. Intermediate 2 lasted 51 weeks, 4 short of a Fibonacci 55. So give or take a few weeks either side of these estimations is worthwhile to make that estimate. Looking at the structure of intermediate 3, the middle of it could have passed through here. I'm expecting the fifth waves to end these third wave impulses to be the longest, strongest portion of the third waves. I'm expecting they're going to exhibit vertical upward movement. That's yet to come. Within intermediate wave 3, which may only subdivide as an impulse, we may have minor 1 and 2 complete, minor 3 incomplete. I'm using the Fibonacci ratio 11.09 to calculate a target for minor 3, gives us a calculation at 3.49 using the Fibonacci number sequence. If it lasts a Fibonacci 233 days, it may end about 26th of March. That's today, but it's not complete obviously today. So because the structure is incomplete and we've met my time estimation, I'm going to have to use the next Fibonacci number in the sequence. Or I think what I might do is when we have the end of 4 and the start of 5, I might look at Fibonacci numbers for 5. We may not see minor 3 exhibit a Fibonacci number from the number sequence. Within the impulse of minor 3, minute wave 4 looks likely to be unfolding as a regular contracting triangle. Technically, it may not move into wave 1 price territory below 0.6444. Practically, it shouldn't get anywhere near that point. Let's take a look at this structure close up at the daily time frame. The high of 3 is this point here. We're looking at a regular contracting triangle. These are really similar to triangles in classic technical analysis, but Elliott Wave gives them a much tighter structure with really strict rules. One of the rules for an Elliott Wave triangle is all of the subwaves must be zigzags or zigzag multiples, but only one can be a zigzag multiple. It's really commonly wave D, and so that's how I'm labeling wave D of the triangle. Here's the first zigzag, labelled subnuet W. The 2 may be joined by a 3 in the opposite direction labelled X, and the second zigzag labelled Y may now be continuing higher and may end over just another couple of weeks or so. When D of the triangle is complete, then I'll expect a zigzag, the final little zigzag down for E, most likely to fall short of the AC trend line. Now this could be a regular contracting triangle, it could also be a regular barrier triangle. The Elliott Wave rules for those are a little bit different. A contracting triangle, D should fall short of B so that the BD trend line has a slope and the AC trend line has a slope, so the trend lines of the triangle are converging. It's contracting. For a barrier triangle, D should end about the same level as B so that the BD trend line is essentially flat to the eye, which means technically D can end very slightly above the end of B at 3.029, and the Elliott Wave triangle would remain valid. That's the only Elliott Wave rule, the only one that involves a small degree of subjectivity, which is one of the nice things about Elliott Wave. All the other rules are absolute, so you know exactly when your wave count is invalid and you need to move to a lower probability alternate. So I'm expecting basically sideways movement for a little while yet to complete this triangle structure for XRP. Elliott Wave triangles are always continuation patterns. That's another difference between classic triangles. They can be continuation or reversal patterns. Elliott Wave triangles, always continuation patterns. The direction of the trend entering the triangle was up, so we expect an upward breakout when the triangle is complete. Targets here the same as at the last chart. Let's go to some technicals for XRP. It's basically moving sideways. Consolidation zone with support about 1.9, resistance in a little zone from 2.7 to 3.32. At the all-time high on 16th of January 2025, price made an all-time high but did not close above 3.32. I'm using Bitstamp data for XRP for this. And it did have support from volume, so this is a really bullish sign from XRP. I'd rather it closed to new all-time highs, but an upward session with support from volume at really strong resistance, that's bullish and suggests eventually we're going to see an upward breakout. But there's some work to do before it gets there. There is really strong resistance about 3.32, so it's absolutely unsurprising XRP is having some consolidation. And this is a normal, healthy behavior of a long-term bull market. It doesn't move in a straight line. There are pullbacks and consolidations along the way, and that relieves extreme conditions, setting the stage for the resumption of the larger trend. Resistance currently about 2.7, support holding about 1.9. At the last low at support, there was a strong bullish engulfing candlestick pattern, which had some support from volume. We've got these hammer candlestick patterns occurring about support and a bearish candlestick pattern in dark cloud cover occurring close to resistance. As price is moving sideways, overall volume is declining, but it does remain stronger on upward sessions than it does on downward sessions. So I'm going to read the volume profile for XRP as bullish, supporting the view that eventually, when this consolidation is done, we're going to see an upward breakout. Watch on balance volume carefully. The last signal it gave was bullish as it broke above this resistance line, which has about 1, 2, 3 tests, and now is acting as support. There's a new little resistance line. It's quite weak. There's only 2 anchor points. That's the minimum you need to draw a line. If we can see more anchor points develop, more tests develop, that line will strengthen in technical significance. Wait for a breakout of this little zone from on balance volume, and that may tell us the direction that price is going to move imminently. At the all-time high, ADX told us XRP was in a very extreme upward trend. This consolidation pullback has completely relieved those extreme conditions. ADX is now below 15, the DX lines are whipsawing, the stage is set for a trend to develop in either direction. I favour upward, I think that's more likely. RSI reached deeply overbought. It's reached well below 50, pretty close to 50 still. There's plenty of room for a trend to develop in either direction, and there's a fair way to go before conditions would reach extreme. Money flow also in neutral territory. ATR strongly declining as price moves sideways. Volume and volatility have left the market as it consolidates. It's just having a pause, taking a wee breather. That's it from me with a not quicker than I thought it would be update for you for XRP today. If you are wanting to get access to my new course, which I've got 8 lessons prepared, we've got 2 bonus lessons to come over the next 2 weeks. It's going to teach you exactly how to use Elliott Wave in trading and investing. You need to have a pretty good understanding of Elliott Wave rules and guidelines. You need to know how to do Elliott Wave counts. Basically, it's going to bridge the gap between the theory of Elliott Wave and how to put it into practice in your trading or investing account. So click on the link in the description box and go and secure your course, because this launch price is only going to be there for 48 hours, and I will never ever offer this particular price again, not even in future sales. This is the lowest price it's ever going to be.